good afternoon, everybody. Eric with American Business Systems. Glad that you could join us this afternoon. Hope that you're looking forward to kicking back for about 35, 40 minutes as we kind of go through today's topic on can you build a medical billing business with these services? It's been a while since we've gone through all the different services as we have in the past. We're going to take a little bit of time to try to go over as many of these services as we can this afternoon and with the time we've got allotted. So it's good to see everybody coming in here. I hope that you're having a great day, wrapping up this last week of summer, getting ready to go into the fall this weekend. So hopefully you're ready for some fall wherever you may be located. I'll remind everybody that in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to go over to your Q&A box and go ahead and type in your location where you're calling in from, just so that we got some great communication. And then I want you to feel free at any time during the webinar to type in your questions. As those questions come in, I read through them. Sometimes they may be right at that point where we need to chat about that particular topic or that particular service, or if I need to, I'll wait towards the end so that we kind of get all of that taken care of. So we got Jennifer calling in from Houston. Good to have you here this afternoon. Let's see if we can get some of these other folks to chime in there. Gabrielle, maybe you can type in where you're calling in from. Venkat, if you could do the same. And so these others that are coming in here, good to have everybody. Okay. And thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Nevin. All right, folks, here we go. Let's get started this afternoon. I know we got a lot to cover. We got Gabrielle from Arizona. Good to have you here this afternoon. Looks like Anthony just popped in. So Anthony, just type in where you're calling in from. I'd like to kind of get everybody on the same page here. All right, so again, today we're going to take on the services. Obviously, with medical billing, everybody understands that medical billing is a medical billing platform and the electronic medical records. So we know that those things kind of go hand in hand. So what we're going to do is kind of broaden our scope a little bit and talk about the different services that we have. So let's get started here. So again, if you haven't already found the Q&A box, go ahead and find that for me. Go ahead and type in again where you're calling in from. I know we got some other folks that are looking like that they're calling in and they're just waiting to get in line to get on through these. I'm going to share that I've already answered some of these live here. Anthony's from California. Good to have you, sir. And Venkat says, hello, good to see you. From Florida, good to see you. All right. And we got some more folks that are coming in. So remember, as you're coming in, if you need, or if you want to start asking me some questions, you can feel free to start doing that. Again, my name is Eric Auger. I'll be your host this afternoon. I'm going to share just a little bit of history, brief history about American Business Systems, that it's been around for at least 30 years. Gosh, here just in about 3.5 more months, as we could say, it'll be 31 years. I can't believe how quickly this year is moving by. If you haven't met our Chief Executive Officer, that's Adam Phillips. Adam has been running the company for the last 3 to 4 or 5 years. He and his dad ran it together for many, many years until Patrick handed over the reins to Adam not too long ago. And Adam's doing a fabulous job. He is writing some books, writing articles. His latest article, if you haven't gotten a copy of that, feel free to reach out to your sales rep here and ask for Adam's article that was written in the Billing and Coding Advantage magazine on the topic, will the advancement, obviously, in artificial intelligence, will that take over my job in anything here going on with medical billing? So if you haven't gotten a copy of that, feel free to get back with your sales rep and they'll make sure that you get a copy of it. You're going to want to get a copy of that. Adam's also the founder of an organization called MERMA. MERMA is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. It is this organization that you are automatically are associated with once you become part of American Business Systems. So your fees are paid, all that's taken care of there. You're able to take that logo, be part of all of your marketing material, share the doctor that you're associated with MERMA, and it is MERMA who is the people that certified you as a certified medical revenue manager. I'll get that out this afternoon. But they're the ones that certify you. They carry your certification. So obviously you can start to look at having that as part of your marketing. Before we jump right in, I thought we would take just a quick little snapshot of what's going on in the healthcare market today. There's some interesting articles that I've reached out there. Matter of fact, there is a organization called the Black Book Group, and they've got some very interesting information. And I didn't get a chance to put all that information in here, but a lot of the stuff that was in their information is obviously some of the information I'm going to share with you right now. So let's talk about revenue cycle. If you're going to be a revenue cycle manager, you may want to think about the market that you're getting into. So one of the things that you have to understand here is the business opportunity or franchise that you might be looking to get into, does it have a market and is it increasing? So I'm just showing this with you right quickly. You can see here that the revenue cycle management market is expected to reach $329 million by 2030. So you can see that's a growing growth rate, a continual, what's called a continual annual growth rate of 12%, or a little bit, almost at 13%. So you got to understand that you're going to be part of a market that is continually growing. You can see here some other numbers here that if you wanted to take a quick screenshot of that. Also, if you'd like to get a copy of this, I'm sure you can ask for your sales rep here to get you a copy of the entirety of this slide deck here. So I just want to share with you that you're in a huge growing market. You can see here some of the issues that doctors are dealing with on a regular basis. One of the biggest things that they have to deal with is what's called denials through revenue cycle management. That's why we certify you as a certified medical revenue manager. It's because their biggest problems that they are faced with are denials because of information that's going into their system incorrectly. You can see the top thing that causes a claim to be denied is the registration and eligibility. Now, what's important about that for you to be able to look over and understand is that this is an area that you, as a certified medical revenue manager, can actually help the doctor reduce those denials through what you can do there. So the other thing is missing and invalid claims data. So if you took just the 22% of the issues that happen through revenue cycle management and the missing data stuff that's there in the invalid claims, that is a boatload of money that you can help that doctor collect. So let's go on and share a little bit more here. Where do some of these errors accumulate? Again, all of it you can see is on the front end. And that's what you, as a certified medical revenue manager, or what you're able to do is reduce those claims from getting errors and obviously helping those doctors achieve a lot more. Now, one last thing I want to talk with you about is why would a doctor even want to outsource to you? So this is something for you to keep in mind and very important for you. You can see here that I've got two columns. One is in-house billers versus it being outsourced. So you can see we've broken down the cost. If a doctor has a staff and they're doing billing in-house, you can see that it's probably costing that doctor just on the front end, just hiring the people there, right around $68,000 to $70,000. However, if they had outsourced that out to you, the most that this scenario, the most that it would have cost the doctor is about $54,000. Now, I want you to remember that number because towards the end of today's webinar, I'm going to share some information about how you are able to get your return on investment utilizing that money there. So as we get started here, I want to take the rest of our 25 to 30 minutes here, kind of start talking about all of these different services. First of all, you can see these different services that we have several of the services, which includes iClaim, which that's the billing platform, which is what is known as the practice management system. Okay. That's where all the data of the patient's name, the insurance goes, the scheduling and everything, all of that goes right into the iClaim system. On top of that, next to it, you see that there is what's called EMR. That's called our EMRX platform. I'm going to share a little bit about both of those here in just a second. But as we kind of go from left to right at that top part of it, you see AuditGuard, CodeWrite, DentaMax. So for those, I'm going to talk a little bit about the DentaMax because I'll share a little bit of AuditGuard and CodeWrite here in just a moment. But DentaMax is for you if you've got a doctor or a dentist that's out there and you would like to do a dental billing, we've got that entire service there that you can help out with that. We've had that asked for so long that, gosh, I bet you about 5-6 years ago, we implemented all of our billing into 2 separate categories. You've got medical billing, which is done by iClaim, and the dental billing, which is done by DentaMax. Those are 2 separate types of claims. Those don't use the same codes. So that's why we've got 2 different services there. Then down at the bottom, let's look at the bottom real quickly. We've got Quick Collect, which again, I'm going to go over here in just a moment. Choice Pay. We've got AutoCard, which is a marketing opportunity that you can help the doctors make sure that they got people coming in. Then Compliancy Guard, that has to do with HIPAA. Again, I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you there. But that last one over there in that corner, again, I'm going to ask you to spend a little time with me. I'm going to talk with you about that and where that originated from, and that's the virtual care. All right, so real quickly before I talk about virtual care, yes, this is being recorded so that you can take a listen to it at home a little bit more in depth if you need to, Venkat. So glad you did ask that. All right, so let me talk with you about virtual care and how all that came about. Because everything that you see, all these other different services, they have a lot to do with obviously how a doctor gets paid. That's where the claims start. Again, I'm going to kind of go through all of that here whenever I talk a little bit more about iClaim, and all these other different services help the doctor get revenue back into their office. But through the pandemic, what we just went through a few years ago caused the doctors a little bit of anxiousness because obviously they couldn't get their patients in to see them, but they still needed to try to keep up with that. And what we were able to do, because we are so connected in healthcare here at American Business Systems, we actually had some folks come to us and say, "Hey, we've got some things that your licensees really might like to help those doctors with in these lower times where they can't get their patients in," and that is monitoring patients through these devices like a blood pressure cuff, like a glucometer, pulse oximeter, and keep up with your patients if they can't get into the office. Well, what we did, we were able to pull them in as part of one of our services. Now, what's great about this is that the doctors can continue to put their patients on what's called chronic care management. And what that will do, that'll actually cause the doctor's revenue to go up because, again, instead of seeing patients in their office, they can actually keep up with that remotely. So that's what's called, some of you might understand as a remote patient monitoring. So imagine having your doctors that you are possibly marketing to or doing their billing. Not only can you charge or do the billing for the doctors patients are being seen in office, but you'll also be able to do the billing for the patients that can't get into the office and the doctors are doing remote patient monitoring or chronic care management. So that's a very important part of the entirety of our suite here full of services. Now, I'll tell you, as far as I know, there is no other billing franchise or business opportunity that has any close to the services that we have. Matter of fact, we have other services that we certainly won't even be able to get around to today. And we'll show that to you at a later date. But you can always get back with your sales rep and always say, what are some of those extra services? Because there are some more services that we've added in. Adam and his team are always adding new services. All right, so let's talk real quickly about iClaim. Now, as I talk about iClaim, let me also share with you, this is going to be something you're going to learn at the end of the webinar. But if you haven't had an opportunity to get with your sales rep and do a demonstration of the iClaim system, mark that down to be one of the first things you do to schedule right after the webinar today. Be sure to get with your sales rep. They would love to be able to take you on a tour and demonstrate how the powerfulness of this iClaim system is. Now, remember earlier, I showed you a little bit of some statistics earlier. I'm going to go flip back between this slide and this slide right here. Remember right up here, you see the most critical thing that doctors face about claims not getting paid or denied claims, the first one right there is the first one, registration or insurance eligibility. One of the key factors of what iClaim can do is actually check insurance eligibility automatically as you're putting the patient's information in there. Matter of fact, you can kind of see over in that right-hand corner where it says, well, you see up at the top of the left in the what looks like a big old Apple screen there. You see up at the top, it says iClaim. But if you go all the way to the right and then kind of become about halfway down, you'll see a word that says shortcuts. Right underneath shortcuts is, you see where it says register a new patient? If we had time, I could click on that button. And then what I can do, it's going to come up with this form, and it's going to allow me to put the patient's name, also their insurance. If I had their insurance card, I could put their insurance. I could do a drop-down menu of all their insurance, whatever insurances are available. Click on that, then actually put the patient's information. I mean the patient's ID, their insurance ID right in there, and not much more data than that. So patient's first name, the insurance company, who it is, and the insurance ID. And with that, with a click, couple of clicks of the button, what we're able to do with iClaim is actually go out to that insurance. So let's call that insurance United Healthcare. So let's say that within iClaim, we can go out through United Healthcare. It'll find that patient's name associated with that insurance ID. We get to look at all the information, verify that's correct, and with one more click of the button, pull in all the patient data, all their patient demographics into the system automatically. Well, what does that do? Well, that means somebody does not have to type out the first and last name, street address, phone number. All of that gets piped straight into the system. Well, that's going to help eliminate a lot of those denials right off the first, because remember, one of the top things that cause denials is registration, folks. So this is why I'm going to encourage you to get with your sales rep and let them take you on a tour of that, because they'll actually be able to show that to you. Plus, if you already got the patient in there, you see right underneath it where it says eligibility request. Again, with one more click of a button, we can actually verify insurance within our system. Again, that kind of goes back with this slide that I'm going to show you again up here. Registration and eligibility is the top thing that causes a claim not to get paid. Well, what if we could show a doctor from right off the bat that we can eliminate the biggest problems that doctors have of not getting paid by getting this done automatically? Hopefully you can see it doesn't matter what software that you look out there. If someone says that they build their own software or whatever, they're not going to be able to match what we're able to do here with the iClaim system. Now, let's take it a little bit step further. Let's go over to the doctor's side of it, which is the electronic medical record side, which is what we've got labeled here and marketed as EMRx. This system, along with iClaim, work hand in hand. So obviously, this is the EMR side of what you would call the practice management side of it, the iClaim side of it. So once that patient's information gets directly into the system, now we've got everything that the doctor's going to need. They can pull up that patient's name right in the EMRx side of it. This is all one system that's all built together. We don't have to patch in anything. One of the things that I noticed whenever I was reading over some information on the Black Book resources that I was looking at this morning was finding out that a lot of practice office managers and CEOs of doctors' offices, and so obviously some of the larger groups out there, they're always trying to find different pieces to pull in to make their jobs easier. Well, again, our system already has a lot of that built inside of it where we don't have to plug in anything. So imagine that you've got everything right then and there. So let's say that the doctor sees it's going through their patient list, and you can see it's all by time. And what's great is that this is built so the doctor can use it from an iPad or some type of tablet format, or if they're using a laptop that has a touch screen on it. All of these buttons just simply gets the doctor to flow right through that particular visit. And the beautiful thing about this, keeping this in mind, the cohesiveness between iClaim and EMRx is that when the doctor gets through seeing their patient, they're going to complete that note right then and there, and they're going to close out that chart. Once they've closed out that chart, that claim is already on the iClaim side for you to go ahead and process the claims. You can see right underneath where we were looking at here where it says register a new patient eligibility request. You can see right there where it says claim status dashboard. That's going to get you to the dashboard that you can start processing the claims that the doctor has already done through the EMR system. All right, so this is a closed unit, so to say. It's all working together. So whenever you're looking at the services and you're looking how the billing platform works the way it's supposed to work, folks, this is second to none out there. This system has won tremendous awards out there. And this is part of your package program here at American Business Systems. Now, remember, we're already at the 20-minute mark over in our webinar. So if you've got any particular questions, feel free to type those in there, and I'll see about getting those. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shift over to the other services, because one of the biggest probably mind hurdles that people think about when they're trying to figure out, do I want to get into medical billing or not? It's not so much whether that I've got a good program like iClaim or EMRX. The biggest thing, or the biggest challenges that you might even hear from others is, gosh, how are you going to understand coding? Well, we understand that. So what we've done is we've got coding partners relationships. We've got an organization, and it's called CodeWrite, that will actually do the coding for you. Our certified coders, you can see this over to the left, our certified professional coders ensure all tasks are completed thoroughly, which means that whenever you've got, let's say that you've got a doctor that needs some claims some physician notes that need to be coded, okay? You're not a coder. It takes several years for you to actually become a coder. So we've got the resources for you. We've got coding resources that you can be able to ship this over to the CodeWrite area. All you got to do is scan it in there, scan the doctor's notes, and then they're going to chart it and get that back to you so that you can be able to put that back into iClaim if needed. Now, again, I'll say this, the iClaim and the EMRX system already has the doctor's codes already built inside of it. So it's rare, very, very rare that you would ever have to deal with coding in and of yourself. It's really the doctor's responsibility to make sure that you have codes. The only time that you're probably going to run into a doctor that needs their charts coded are going to be more like your surgeons, that they're just having to talk it through. It's being dictated out. You may have a few doctors that still do all of their dictation audio, so you would need someone to listen to that, or it gets transcribed, and then that transcription needs to be converted into the codes that are needed to actually do the billing. So that's why we've got this service here. So all you would have to do is simply scan in the doctor's notes, get their medical charts up to the coder. That gets turned around within about 24 hours. Boom, you got the codes there. All right. Jennifer said, please tell us about the marketing side of the business. I'll get to that here just towards the end. But remember, Jennifer, think about this. These services that we're talking about is part of learning this whole thing about how you're going to market. The other aspect of coding are auditing your audit resource. Now, what you may or may not understand is that typically any doctor's office, especially the larger doctor's offices, they could be under an audit between Medicare, United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, all of these insurance companies, but mainly a lot is that you're going to find out, or doctors will go through some type of audit. Now, you might not think that's too big of a deal, but let me kind of give you a scenario. If a doctor sees a lot of Medicare patients, let's say that their population for the patients that they see are 60 to 70% Medicare patients, then that doctor is seeing what we would call high acuity type patients. So they've got multiple comorbidities going on, diabetes, end-stage renal diseases, any type of cardiac issues. So they've got multiple things going on with them. So typically a doctor will spend a lot of time with a particular patient. Over a period of time, that doctor's building out what you would call as a very high level type codes, okay? So you've got the procedure codes that you've got going on with the doctors, and that's the procedure code. You got the diagnosis code of what's really wrong with the patient. So if they got 3 or 4 diagnoses, it helps show that their higher codes are sustainable. Okay. So what you got to understand is that any doctor could be under a Medicare scrutiny, any type of anything else. So there are times whenever it might be a benefit for your doctor to go through an audit where they know that they're not going to have to be worried about. So ever so often, maybe once a quarter, maybe twice a year, it depends. Maybe when you're starting to take over a doctor's practice, running it through Audit Guard may be a very good process. Whenever I started whenever I started my medical billing business, and I actually was doing some medical billing for a doctor, the first thing I did with those doctors, I actually ran them through Audit Guard, because what I wanted to make sure is I wanted to ensure the doctors that either A, that they're coding correctly, or B, either that they're overcoding that could get Medicare to claw back some of that money, or they're not coding high enough where they're literally leaving money on the table. So again, let me refer this back to you in a different way, so that I want to try to help paint this picture here. And I'm going to put this back up over here for you, because once you completed our course here, you're going to be called what's called a certified medical revenue manager. You can see here, we're not labeling you as a certified medical biller, but a revenue manager, which is going to encompass, again, all these different services that I'm trying to my best to get through in a reasonable amount of time this afternoon. Because every one of these can actually help the doctor either avoid being penalized or actually getting more money back into their practice. Because remember, again, I'm going to keep going back to this up over here, that a lot of doctors lose a lot of money just trying to get the patient registered and making sure that their insurances are eligible. So many times the doctors, they're billing people in their office, or they've got another medical billing company out there that's just not paying attention to these things. And whereas we do that. And one of those areas is we want to make sure our doctors, if they do go through an audit, that they know that they can rest assured that they're not going to be penalized and they're coding properly. This service is that service that you can talk to these doctors up front immediately. Okay. And again, kind of, Jennifer, I kind of relay back to your question here about marketing. This is one of those great marketing services that you can talk to doctors about. Now, I see that Anthony's asked a couple of questions, and I'm gonna hold on to your questions towards the last. Okay. Let's go to the next one here, the next service here, and that's for HIPAA resource. Okay. So here's an issue that I think a lot of you that are on the call today, and those that might be listening to this as on our YouTube channel a little bit later, you're going to find this to be very interesting as you start to see this year close out and we start 2025, okay? Because as this year starts to wind down, is the perfect time to start introducing the doctors to get ready to go through all of their HIPAA training again that they need to do yearly. Sometimes they have to go through it twice a year. So that's why this particular service would work very, very well, especially with those that are looking to get into this business, because this is a very easy service to talk to doctors about. Let me just share with you this. You know, we live in a world of social media. There's not many times that we're not walking around with our telephones in our hands, right? And a lot of times the folks that are behind the glass, right? The people that are, checking you in, they're typically on their phones too. There are certain rules that have to be addressed and taught, and the whole education part of it that everybody in that office needs to go through when it comes to HIPAA violations. A simple missed, somebody being on their Facebook, taking a snapshot of the office party there, and all of a sudden there are charts left out. Folks, all one patient has to see is that posted on Facebook and go, I was just at that doctor's office and I'm going to report that doctor's office to HIPAA. Okay. It doesn't take much. A chart being left out, things that patients' information up on a screen, what they talk about on the backside, and another patient's overhearing. All of these different areas are areas of compliance that the doctor needs to make sure that they're ready to go through. Now, again, as a certified medical revenue manager, this may not make the doctor much money, but it's going to save them, can be up to tens of thousands of dollars. So Compliancy Guard specifies and it strategizes that doctor's office, because they're supposed to have a HIPAA compliancy officer. Now, I'm going to kind of go back to Jennifer's question here just real quickly. She was asking a little bit about marketing. This is one of my favorite introductory services that I like to, if I'm going to go talk to a doctor's office or I get around a group of doctors, my question to them is, I'm here to talk with you, and I'd like to talk with your HIPAA compliancy officer. Now, for those that don't mind getting in their car, driving to a couple of doctors' office, if you like to do that a little bit, and just walking in and just going, hey, my name's Eric, and I'm with XYZ billing company. And you don't even have to say billing company, but something to do with healthcare. And you simply say to that front desk person, you know what, my name's Eric, and I'm who with American Business Systems, just for a lack of a better word. And I said, I just want to know, who is your HIPAA compliancy officer? The looks that I've received is amazing. People thought, gosh, why are you here? Did we violate some HIPAA issues? And what I do is simply invite that person to join me either on an introductory phone call to talk about their HIPAA issues, some of the new rules and regulations that are happening with HIPAA if they didn't know about that. So I use it more as an educational part of it. Then I just simply say, hey, I know we've got a little bit of dialogue going here. How about if I come in and I'm going to show you some of the new rules that are coming up in 2025 that you might want to put a part of your whole education package. And then we've got our group here called Compliancy Guard that we can actually do a full webinar with them to let them know what they're going to need and get them through all their HIPAA training and all their HIPAA certification going into the next year. So folks, again, I know today is not a marketing type of webinar where we're talking about different ways to market to doctors, but I'm telling you, this is a showstopper here. This is one of the ones I like to lead out with, and many others like to lead out with. So whenever it comes down to understanding our services, you've got to understand and hopefully walk away from today's webinar going, I had no idea that it was this big and this beefy as we kind of go in and try to figure out how we're going to build our business, because this is all about you and the services that you come with. Accounts receivables. Gosh, who doesn't need accounts receivables resources? Now, whenever you're dealing with doctors, now that we're coming up again towards the end of the year, getting ready for 2025, guess what starts all over again? And those are the deductibles. People are trying to finish out their year, making sure that they've got their deductibles so that they can get their last minute surgeries in, or their last minute office visits in, and their well care visits in, and their annual physicals in, and they're trying to get all that done because they've met their deductibles, because they know their deductibles are about to start back up. But what happens if they get hit with a different type of procedure that's not covered by their insurance, and they might need to pay that out to a doctor? Choice Pay allows them to do that. It sets them up on an automatic payment plan that it doesn't take the patient too much out of pocket, but it also covers the doctor in making sure that doctor gets reimbursed. The last thing that a doctor wants to do, see a patient, do the procedures that they do on that particular patient, and just not getting paid. That means that the doctors basically work for free. He and his staff, or her and her staff, they've just done all their work, and they're having to depend upon other people to kind of fill that gap in. So what if we're able to, again, show that doctor we can keep that revenue stream keeping coming? They may not have gotten all of it, or even if they put it on a credit card, they're only going to get a percentage. They're going to have to deduce their credit card rate that they have to get. Let's make sure the doctor is paid in full. We just might get it done a little bit over time. So Choice Pay is that particular service that helps that doctor get paid quicker, just reduces the cost, and makes sure the doctor gets things done. And it helps this next section here, which is Quick Collect. Let's teach doctors not to put patients on send them over to a collection agency. That's the worst thing that a doctor can do. Because remember, you're here to help that doctor increase their revenue. And part of keeping that revenue up is making sure that they keep their patients. Listen, I've heard patients leave doctor's offices because by one missed bill, they sent that patient to a collection agency. That doctor has spent time with that patient, probably seen some of their family members. The last thing you want to do is destroy a relationship because, believe it or not, doctor's offices, the doctor's relationship to their patients is that type of relationship. So don't ruin that. Let's give them an option. So instead of managing, accounts receivables and just going, hey, let's just throw this to a collection agency, let them collect it on their end. Let's just get pennies on the dollar on the back end. At least it got collected, right? Well, it destroys that relationship. So let's eliminate the doctors from having to put these patients on a collection agency and can keep that relationship built. Because listen, it takes a lot to get a patient to start trusting a doctor. The last thing you want to have that doctor do is put one or two of their patients in collections. So Quick Collect is a service that will put them on basically something very much like this Choice Pay. Choice Pay is on the front end that they can arrange that to be taken care of. It's this on the back end that the patients might owe some money and the doctors are trying to close out their year. This kind of moves them to a payment plan as well. So these are both good resources as we kind of go through that. So what we've been able to do for, gosh, almost 36 minutes already is share with you those big chunks of those resources. Now, the last thing I want to kind of wrap up here with, again, is some revenue for you, okay? Now, all I'm going to do is talk about the revenue that you can make on the side of the iClaim platform, okay? So first of all, what I want to talk to you about, there's three main things that you need to be thinking about as you're getting into a business opportunity in the first place. First of all, your investment. Secondly, your return. Finally, what does success look like to you, okay? Success to, I think, all of us is, can I get a return on my investment? And how quickly can I do that? Well, the first thing let's talk about here is the investment. You know, the investment by now is right at $30,000. It is one of the lowest, as you can find out there in franchises and business opportunities. With the potential of what you can make and the exponential money that you'll be able to make in the future, because this is the last thing that you'll ever need to invest in. $30,000 with American Business Systems. Okay. We're not going to franchise you to death. There's not going to be royalties that you're going to have to pay later on. Even if we bring on some of the newer services, that is not a part of the system. Okay. So let's talk about a return on investment. What are you going to need to do that? You're going to need anywhere from $30,000 maybe to $39,000 in your first year, depending upon how you're going to do your marketing. Okay. Some of you might want to spend a little bit more in marketing. Listen, I'm going to tell you, most people that I've seen, their only investment is the $30,000. Some people like to go out there and maybe put in some marketing efforts and pay for different things, but everything that you get from us, you don't really need anything else. But I kind of just put that round figure out there just so that you can kind of do that. Because what I want you to see is what success can look like with one doctor. One doctor can return to you anywhere from $35,000 to $65,000 in your first year. Where are you going to find that? Go to our website, drill all the way down to the bottom. You're going to find that there's a calculator down there. It's your income generated calculator, what your potential earnings can be. Instead of going through this, I'm going to show it to you real quickly on these slides. What it would take is, if you've got one doctor, that doctor is seeing 25 patients per day, okay? This is nothing blown out of the water. So typically you're going to see a doctor that's going to see anywhere from 25 up to 40 patients a day. I'm on the lower end, but one doctor will see on average about 25 patients a day. Each of those patients, what we kind of think of it as revenue, that each of those patients, remember, the patient can pay in cash or through their credit card, or they're going to be billed out. But typically it's going to average right about $150 per patient. So you got 25 times $150, that generates about $3,750 per day for that doctor. Okay, so we're talking about per day, 25 patients per day is going to equal out of just under $4,000. Okay, All right, so you got that. Remember, you're going to bill on a percentage. You're going to do all of your billing and all of your work behind the scenes, all of your revenue cycle management behind the scenes, your services. It's going to cost that doctor about 7%. Okay. So you take that $37.50 a day times 7%. Your income take on that particular day is about $262.50 per day. And you can see down there, I put down there about how much time that's going to take you. About 2 hours at the most, less than 90 minutes to do one doctor's claims with 25 claims a day, folks. That's what we're talking about here. You can see already exponentially where you can be. What is this going to generate you over an annual? What does it look on the annual? This is what it looks like. Again, you just do the math, 262, 50 times 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year, $68,500 per doctor. Now you can see, folks, I didn't explode those numbers. All I did was put in percentages. You can go do that back on our website. You can change that percentage to 6% if you'd like to. Maybe you want to reduce that down a little bit more. I wouldn't do it because that's typically, again, what you're going to be finding there. But at the end of the day, your potential income per doctor is going to be roughly about $68,500 a year. Okay. Remember, your investment here is $30,000. So is it possible? Is the potential there to get your return on investment in the first year? Yes. And I haven't even added in the other services. Okay. This is why I wanted to point this out. I'm going to put this back over here. Can you build your business with these services? Absolutely, you can. Because on Audit Guard, CodeWrite, DentaMax, Quick Collect, Choice Pay, Audit Card, Auto Card, Compliancy Guard, and Virtual Care, there's revenue streams with each one of those. All I've done is chiseled out iClaim. That's all I've done. So what you're going to be able to do right after the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you real quickly that there is going to be a research guide that goes into detail on each of these services and the potential revenue that you can get out of each of those services. But lastly, I'm going back over here to the 68,500. Typically, once one of our licensees gets started, let's say they've been in business for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. They've collected maybe 2 to 3 doctors. Again, the average amount of our folks that have been with us for about a year and a half to 2 years have 3 doctors. So I just thought I'd put that up there. Look what your income could be with 3 doctors. Remember, it's going to take you about 2 hours per doctor. That's about 6 hours a day. It's not even a full day's work. You didn't have to hire anybody. You might get your spouse, business partner to kind of help you with it. You split the difference, whatever you want to do. Still, it's a 6-figure income on a $30,000 investment. Again, there's no money that you're having to peel out of all of this that you're going to have to pay American Business Systems for franchise fees or royalty fees or anything else like that. So the question is, can you build a business in medical billing with these services? You absolutely can. So we finally come to the part where some question and answers. Anthony's got a question up here. He's got 2 questions about training. Number 1, how many people total can we train for your franchise? Typically, the $30,000 covers 1. There are some extra costs if you want more. Just get back with your sales rep and see if there's any what those charges are, and they'll be able to chat with you about that. Number 2, will each individual be assigned their own login credentials? The answer to that is yes. Once you've got your logins to like iClaim, everybody, including the doctor's offices, they'll have their own logins to the system there. So you get everything's covered there. So you don't have to pay any more for those logins. There may be a little bit of extra cost, again, for additional people to join your training as part of American Business Systems. But again, get back with your sales rep there and they'll be able to help you out. Can you please repeat the first question? Okay, yes. He was asking, Jennifer, how many people can attend training here at American Business Systems? Typically, it's 1 person for that one-time investment of $30,000. Get back with your sales rep. I don't know how, if you've got more than 1 to attend, get back with them. They'll talk with you about the additional, if there's any additional fees to go with that. Okay. So I got both of those questions answered there. Vincat's asking, how do you introduce new prospects to us, or we generate our own leads? That's a question for next Wednesday's webinar. How about that? We are going to go over how you're going to prospect and how you get your leads. A lot of there might be a couple of business opportunities out there in medical billing who will say, if you join us, we're going to give you a list of leads. I'll tell you real quickly, leads list doesn't work. They just don't work at all. And I'll tell you why real quickly, and I'll make it short. And that is by the time that you get the list, because they've got to filter it out, they got to because they got to pay for it themselves. By the time they get it to you, believe me, someone else has already purchased that list. And by the time it gets to you, that list is old. That by the time you start going through that list, and the reason I know this is because here at American Business Systems, we've tried that. I've beta tested it myself. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of effort to try to chase down what I would consider to be an old lead already. So we are going to teach you through your training. Matter of fact, through your training, as you're going through your training, there are 10 modules of training that you're going to go through. When you get to modules 2, 3, and 4, your trainer will already have you start to develop your potential list. You will already, by the end of training, have your own prospect list to work from, okay? Next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, again, how to take those leads and be able to start generating those leads into clients, okay? So that's what we're going to kind of talk about a little bit last week or next week. I mean, a live lead, not a stale list. Listen, I'm going to show you how to create a very live lead list. Okay, that's what we're going to tell you. Real quickly, let me kind of start wrapping this up. If you got other questions, go ahead and put those in. We've got a little bit of time left before the top of the hour. Usually we try to keep this as short as possible because we don't want it to be too long for our YouTube viewers here. But let me remind everybody that you got a 30-day money-back guarantee, which means you are able to complete the entire 10 modules of training within that 30 days. Which means that once you've made your investment and you start your training with us here, you got still 30 days to still make your decision. There is no other company in America that I know of, in any franchise or business opportunity out there, that would even dare give you that type of money-back guarantee. We do it. We want it to be fair. We don't mind taking the front-end risk on that because we know that you could, at the end of that training, say, this is not for me. Let's get my money back. And without any questions asked, we'll do that. So that's if you want to call it, that's your limiting your risk, so to say. All right. Vinkite's asking, is the training online? Yes, it is it's 10 lessons online with a live one-on-one. It's not like what we're doing right now on this webinar. It's going to be an actual Zoom meeting where your microphone's open. You're not watching a video. This is going to be a live training one-on-one with you. All right. So I mentioned to you earlier, I need for you to get so you can understand all the rest of the services along with what you can potentially make on those. Get with your sales rep, get the research guide. Don't wait too much longer after the webinar. Get that done. Secondly, go to our YouTube channel. See our other webinars that we've done, everything from interviews with doctors, interviews with ABS licensees, tons of documentation on marketing and how we help you get your clients. Go check that out. It's a boatload of information over there. The other thing I want you to check out is get back with your sales rep and go through and start talking with some of our, it's always fun to have a webinar where we're actually doing a live interview with one of our ABS licensees, but talk with them. How about talking to them straight out? Some of you might remember 3 weeks ago, the gentleman down to the right-hand corner, Tim Warren, I interviewed him. He is also our VP of operations for our support, which helps you get your first client. I don't know why you wouldn't be talking with him once or twice before you jump on board with us. He is certainly one I would recommend. I've already mentioned to you about watching and getting scheduled a live demonstration with your sales rep. Remember the iClaim and EMRX platform, they will take you through that. Then get your purchase agreement. This is a link that they'll send you. You can download it. You can share it with your CPA, your attorney, whatever you want to be able to do. Go through that with them. Make sure you checked all your I's or all your boxes. Make sure you cross all your T's, dotted all your I's. Matter of fact, on the first page, I know it's a little bit small there, but you might be able to see it. It's that refund policy that's right there on the front page. You can see it's just a paragraph long. There's no, small print that you're going to have to get out a magnifying glass or go to the back side of the agreement to go see it. It's all right there. And then finally, get your funding in, get your training started. We can get you trained, get your training actually started within about a week, not any more than 2 weeks. And then you're off to the races, folks. So we want you to be satisfied here. That's why we want you to give us a call here at 866-565-8413. We want to get you started as quickly as possible. Folks, if you see how time's flying here, folks, we only have really one more webinar that we're doing at the end of this month, and that's next week. Okay. So folks, we are coming down to the end of it. So which means we're entering into the last quarter of the year. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to get you through training, to kind of get you bootstrapped, getting ready to go. You want to end the year with your marketing so that you can start 2023 with your first client. Start that return on your investment as fast as possible. Folks, if you have any more questions, give us a call at 866-565-8413. Shoot us an email at info@absystems. It was a joy and a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Hope you have a lovely weekend planned ahead of you, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.